Welcome to part 2 of Toyota, A Brief History. The beginning of worldwide expansion. Toyota began to expand in the 1960s with a new research and development facility. A presence in Thailand was established and the 10 millionth model was produced. A Deming Business Prize was also given, and partnerships with Hino Motors and Daihatsu were also established. The first Toyota built outside Japan was in April 1963 in Melbourne, Australia. From 1963 until 1965, Australia was Toyota's biggest export market. By the end of the decade, Toyota had established a worldwide presence as the company had exported its 1 millionth unit. The first Japanese vehicles to arrive in North and South American continents were 5 Land Cruisers in El Salvador in May 1953. The first Toyota sent to Canada were a shipment of 115 Toyota Crowns sent in February 1965. The first Toyota sent to Europe were 2 Toyopet Tiaras sent to Finland for evaluation in June 1962, but no sales followed. The first European importer was Erla Auto Import AS of Denmark, who bought 190 Crowns following a May 1963 agreement to become the sole distributor for Denmark, Norway and Sweden. The Netherlands followed in May 1964, and after having established toeholds in countries with little or no indigenous automobile production, other markets followed in 1966. In 1966, the Corolla was introduced to the lineup. It became the best-selling passenger car worldwide by 1974 and has been one of the best-selling cars in the world since. The beginning of Toyota's motorsport ventures. Toyota also realised that racing helped sell cars, and they started to commit seriously to competing in rallying, even though they had entered a few trials and rallies in the decades before, but nothing ever came of it, and the cars failed to finish until 1969, where South African driver Jan Hettema rallied a 1968 Toyota Corona. His first year involved a few failures, but he persevered with the car as he believed it was a winner, and in 1969 was rewarded by winning the national championship in South Africa that year. Towards the end of 1970, Toyota introduced a sporting new Celica range and began developing the TA22 Celica 1600 GT for competition use as soon as possible. The decision was taken to invite Swedish driver Ove Andersson to enter the 1972 RAC Rally. So a car was prepared in Japan and sent to Europe, where it finished first in class and 9th overall. Impressed by this result, Toyota helped Andersson establish a more formal works team, Toyota Team Andersson. Initially a relatively low profile outfit with just 4 mechanics and run from Andersson's home in Uppsala, Sweden. The team took on a programme of 4 major rallies in 1973 using Celicas built to similar specifications. But with the expectation of competing in a higher class of international rallying events, the operation was moved to a more central position in Belgium. A modest headquarters was set up in Waterloo, south of Brussels, in February 1975, where it adopted the official name Toyota Team Europe, or better known as TTE. Meanwhile, the smaller Toyota Corolla was still proving very popular around the world in the hands of privateer rally teams. Motorsports governing authorities had already uprated the International Rally Championship for manufacturers into what we know today as the World Rally Championship. So when Canadian driver Walter Boyce took his Corolla to victory, the result was officially the very first victory for Toyota in the WRC, the first of 43 such wins. Establishing themselves as the world's premier automakers, 1975 saw Toyota overtake Volkswagen as the United States import brand of choice, and in 1978 won the Import Triple Crown by topping the charts for sales in the car, truck and tow vehicle categories. But nowhere was Toyota more visible than in its advertising. The 1970s saw the birth of memorable taglines such as "You asked for it, you got it." More. During the 80s, the World Rally Championship activities of Toyota Team Europe continued to be selective as they had been in the previous decade. The team's calendar was largely dependent on national marketing requirements, plus the suitability of each event to the RA40 Celica 2000 GT. The team was campaigning in the top Group 4 category. The first couple of years proved difficult for Toyota as the naturally aspirated Celica struggled to compete against the new generation of turbocharged rally cars that had started to emerge. Swedish manufacturer Saab was the first to adopt forced induction, winning its home rally in 1978 using a turbocharged front-wheel drive car, and Renault had won the 1981 Monte Carlo rally using a turbocharged Super Mini converted to rear-wheel drive. Most dramatic of all, however, Audi had started winning rallies with its new turbocharged four-wheel drive model. At WRC level, there was little that Toyota could do to become immediately competitive on the global scene. Patience was necessary because behind the scenes, an all-new turbocharged Toyota Celica was being developed by TTE in its new base in Cologne, Germany, ready for homologation and a planned launch in 1983. The Motorguard Rally was not a successful event for some, Lancia failed to enter, Opel only sent one car, and both Audi models experienced mechanical issues, which put them out of contention. But drivers Bjorn Walgaard and Per Eklund put in a resounding 1-2 finish that marked an important historic victory for Toyota. The Celica had been campaigning in World Rallying for 10 years, yet this event in New Zealand was the first WRC win for the hard-working model. The competition debut of TTE's new TA63 Toyota Celica twin-cam turbo at the 1983 Thousand Lakes Rally in Finland was also accompanied by the arrival of a significant new driver, Juha Kankkunen. This was the first wave of Ove Andersson's long-term plan to find and coach talented young drivers. The Finn certainly made a good impression by finishing in 6th place, beaten only by all-wheel drive Audis and 2 rear-wheel drive Lancias. The TA63 Celica was campaigned through to the end of 1986 season, at which point its motorsport career was cut short by a change of rules that banned further use of the powerful Group B rally cars in favour of new Group A regulations. This unexpected rule change was a major blow, as Toyota was already well along in its development of far-reaching turbocharged four-wheel drive projects that would comply with FIA's proposed new Group S formula. The MR2-based 222D was one radical prototype built by TTE that suddenly became ineligible for competition before it even had a chance to prove itself. The mid-1980s saw a change in the way cars were perceived. Affluent consumers now demanded high-quality vehicles that did more than simply provide transportation. They wanted a car to excite them and enhance their lifestyle, an image especially aided by the motorsport ventures now broadcast worldwide on TV. And because of this, they entered into a decade where, in my opinion, they started to produce some of the most iconic models of Toyota that would develop huge cult followings even to this day. The Celica GT4, the Toyota Supra, the Corolla AE86, the two-seater MR2, to name a few. Cult status was boosted, no pun intended, further with helping hand from the Hollywood franchise The Fast and Furious, that saw some of these cars in a highly tuned up state producing more power and performance than some supercars of the time. 1989 also saw Toyota create the foundation of the automaker Lexus. With its first model, the flagship LS400, plans for the car go all the way back to 1983 when Toyota chairman Eiji Toyoda determined that the time was right for Toyota to produce a luxury automobile. He decided that the new vehicle would be the finest luxury car in the world, offering speed, safety, comfort, elegance, dignity and beauty. This ultimate automobile also had to be accompanied by unprecedented levels of customer service that greatly exceeded the expectations of current luxury car buyers. And that concludes part 2 of the brief history of Toyota. If you liked the video, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in part 3. Bye.